So now I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar, 5G, Future Technologies and Pandemics. Is your health IT infrastructure prepared? Sponsored by Strategic Venue Partners. 5G and artificial intelligence are becoming more prevalent nationwide, and future technologies that will change and improve the way medical professionals interact with patients are inching their way into healthcare facilities. As the COVID-19 pandemic, which has led to a surge in hospital visits, puts strain on the network infrastructure of facilities everywhere, health IT leaders may be left asking what they can do to future-proof the communications infrastructure of their facilities. Our speakers today are Justin Marin, Chief Executive Officer of Strategic Venue Partners, and Eric Dahl, Vice President of Business Development at Strategic Venue Partners. So with that, I'll hand things over to Justin to begin the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Bridget. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. As Bridget noted, my name is Justin Marin. I'm the CEO and founder at Strategic Venue Partners, or SVP as we like to say. I have a long history of, just quickly on me, I have a long history of investing and developing infrastructure, from communications to renewables with some of the largest banks, Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, Barclays, and now with Fortress and SVP. I cut my teeth on building cell towers and rooftop sites across the country 20 years ago and haven't really looked back. But the common thread with everything that I've been involved with was that there's always an underlying driver in all our previous businesses, as there is with SVP, and that was to provide the right solution. Or as one of my partners likes to say, we like to solve problems. And the genesis, of this company we started years ago was really, there's been a problem with how wireless infrastructure, specifically DAS, Wi-Fi, public safety, have been developed in the past, and we believe our offering addresses those problems and then some. And I'm sure we'll discuss that further today as we get into it. We're all likely on wireless devices, right? I mean, wireless infrastructure is truly the fourth utility. I'm sure some of you have heard that in the past, but of course, water, electric cable, and then wireless. And it's really critical infrastructure that needs to be built out, that everybody uses, it's critical to businesses and communication, as you can imagine. Eric, do you want to just give a quick flyover on you, and then I'll intro SVP?
Absolutely. Eric Dahl, welcome, Vice President Business Development for SVP. I've been in the healthcare arena since 1989 in various capacities with the med device, and then I crossed over into the telecom about 6 years ago. So I've got a varied experience in both the healthcare sector as well as the telecom sector. Hopefully today I'll share some of my experience in the last number of years through that.
Great. Welcome. Thank you. And just a flyover of SVP. At Strategic Venue Partners, we're delivering on a demand-driven opportunity for critical infrastructure in the underserved enterprise market. And as it relates to this, healthcare is definitely one of the verticals that we cover. We do hospitality, gaming, retail, commercial real estate. We design, build, finance, own, and operate in-building wireless communication infrastructure, such as DAS, distributed antenna systems, wireless LAN, fiber, and then more recently, public safety, and then more recently, we've added IPTV, and even security systems of the like. Our projects operate under fixed-term, long-term managed services agreements. Our customers span both public and private enterprises. Our core value prop is delivering an all-inclusive turnkey wireless infrastructure as a holistic managed service. And what we do is we're changing CapEx to OpEx, and doing so utilizing the best breed of OEMs and their certified installation partners. Since inception, we have executed agreements with some of the largest folks in healthcare, as well as hospitality and gaming, casinos, resorts, and certainly retail. We think that we are a little company, and our model is so different that's really changing the industry, and we always feel like we're punching above our weight class. We look at the market, and even though we're covering similar communication lines such as DAS, Wi-Fi, public safety, we really deliver bespoke solutions to everybody. I'm not sure if they're on the line. I didn't see if he signed up or not, but one of the CIOs of the portcos for HCA said to me one time, He said, our problem across our portfolio at HCA is we keep installing static solutions in dynamic environments. Meaning, as a healthcare provider, we keep buying this infrastructure, putting it in place. The technology's changed because the environment's changing, and then we're back to rebuying it, and there's not really a lifecycle management as far as it relates to DAS and public safety and the like. And he noted to me, he said, what you guys are offering is really you're offering dynamic solutions in a dynamic environment and thinking about the whole lifecycle management of what we're offering. And what he was talking about really was the fact that we design, build these systems, but then we have a long-term view of what's coming and how is it going to change. And we have multiple upgrades as part of our offering. We're independent of the wireless carriers. The venues are our partners in these situations, not AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. We serve our venue partners, our hospital partners. And that's what I want to talk to you today about. If you talking about some of the key discussion points. One, wireless connectivity is mission critical for modern healthcare venues, and obviously this has been driven home more and more by COVID-19. Unfortunately, this pandemic has really raised telehealth or fortunately to the next level. I mean, we've been preaching it, and a lot of our healthcare partners have called us saying, we need to move on this now. We had a lot of long-term plans with different folks, and they wanted to accelerate all that stuff. We'll show you a different way of how we think the legacy of building out this infrastructure and funding is no longer effective, and our managed service on the way forward, we believe, is. Of course, the benefits of a fully integrated in-building wireless infrastructure, including 5G and CBRS. We'll talk about CBRS, why that's applicable to the market. How to enable modern connectivity that is stable and secure. And, of course, the obvious, like how do you convert substantial capital expenditures and repeating capital expenditures to a fixed operating cost going into the future. Eric, if you would you jump on the solutions for an evolving industry, please?
Absolutely, Justin. Thank you. And one of the things that I think I've seen in the last 10 years is that the historical trends from a subsidy-driven business model, where carriers are doing a traditional funding third-party neutral host wireless infrastructure system. We've really seen that change over the last couple of years just because the carriers don't have the CapEx budgets and the building owners and facility owners are really seen as taking a more control of what's going on within their venues from a wireless infrastructure standpoint. And really this presents a new opportunity for SVP because in the venue market demand is really imposed by this infrastructure play that we're trying to implement, which is venues are, constantly looking for that wireless connectivity on their premises. They face the difficulty of securing that carrier funding. The venues lack the ability to deploy the necessary upfront CapEx to fund that infrastructure. We see it as once the systems are installed, they require monitoring, maintenance, system upgrades, and that can be costly and complex. And we really have a holistic solution that offers and covers the upfront capital investments, project design, build-in oversight. We do the ongoing monitoring, maintenance, and the system upgrades, as Justin talked about. And we also have the assumption of the operational and technological risks. So based on where the technology goes, the venue owner doesn't have to worry about that because we have that built into our model in order to give them X number of upgrades over the life of the partnership. And really, we have market knowledge and connectivity to deliver the optimal pricing, and we have those relationships with the carriers, both from a national, regional, and a local perspective. So from a modern healthcare venue, when we look at the comprehensive wireless connectivity, healthcare venues require wireless solutions to maximize that operational efficiency to improve patient care. If COVID hasn't taught us anything over the last 6 to 8 months, is that patient care, patient selection, and patient, choice is really coming to fruition. I read some interesting news today that telemedicine will drive $29 billion in healthcare services this year in just telemedicine. That's just a staggering number, and by 2023, it's going to be up to $106 billion. So the continued proliferation of mobile telehealth, citizens broadband radio, which is CBRS, or what we call on-go network, the Internet of Things technologies, coupled with the growth of all the wireless clinical applications, which we've seen remote patient monitoring and the like from a COVID standpoint, it's really revolutionizing how healthcare is delivered. And if you think of anywhere where communications is critical, the hospital, the MOBs, the surgery centers, those are where critical communication exists. And if you have that unable to, to leverage that next generation technology within those healthcare facilities, patient healthcare loses. Healthcare facilities don't have to be dependable. Ubiquitous wireless coverage will be able to maximize that productivity of not only the staff members, but also doctors, surgeons, patients, and the staff to enable offerings that improve that patient experience across the critical and elective procedures.
Yeah, in a minute, I'll show you guys a business case that one of the top 5 healthcare providers in the U.S. Put together with us. They did the work on it, and we'll share that after the next slide. Go ahead, Eric.
So I think one of the most interesting things is, we deliver a multitude of technologies, and we can deliver them all at once or in a staged approach, but we really work with the healthcare facility to design and implement the specific infrastructure to take after what they're looking for, whether it be just wireless coverage, whether it be Wi-Fi, whether it be private LTE, whether it be the telemetry systems, what have you. And we really partner closely with the venues and collaboratively address those unique connectivity needs. And, there's really the deployment of the critical wireless infrastructure really ensures that uninterrupted patient support that we talked about. Modern connectivity, I think, is absolutely critical. And I think that the confidence in that network that's both stable, scalable, and secure with 5G and CBRS is absolutely critical. Now, if you think about futuristic, besides telehealth, there's a whole host of IoT going on in the healthcare environment. IPTV, so you get rid of cable, and really connectivity to the hospital's employees and staff and patients. It's really to facilitate those state-of-the-art tools for those medical professionals to really effectively provide the highest level of care and service possible. And one of the best ways to do that is from a resource optimization and future-proofing by converting that, as Justin talked about, that CapEx to an OpEx with a long-term turnkey solution. One of the things we are seeing as we're meeting with hospital C-suite executives over the last number of months is that, COVID's wiped out a lot of capital budgets, and they don't have that excess capital laying around. So our solution is a perfect one where we provide the capital and it becomes an OpEx play for a monthly managed service charge from our partnering arrangement, which is very beneficial at this point in the juncture.
And I won't bore you with this. We'll share this deck with everybody on the phone, but this is always of interest to me. When you look at the top bullet on the lower right-hand corner, it just talks about the fact that, if you think about a hospital and how much is going to be connected to it, besides the doctors, nurses, patients, you've got the beds and the geofencing and the pumps and the wheelchairs, and you go across the whole thing. And this is talking about the fact that, you're going to have a 4 times increase of IoT connections. From 1 billion to 4.1. That's a significant jump. And our infrastructure allows the healthcare providers to be able to do this at no additional cost. And we'll dive further into that as we move on here. Eric, can you tell us about what?
Yeah, and, if you look into the specifics of wireless for healthcare, the hospitals really require wireless solutions to maximize their operational efficiencies and improve patient care, as we've talked about. And that continued proliferation of mobile and IoT devices, coupled with the growth of wireless clinical applications, are collectively revolutionizing how healthcare is delivered. And you've really seen some of the larger groups out there take a hold of this, and COVID has kind of catapulted them into the digitization of healthcare. And, if you look at the bullet points here on this slide, whether it be workflow, communications, emergency treatment, asset management, and data access, they all are critical pieces and components that what our wireless infrastructure can help promote and utilize. And it really depends on the hospital's IT infrastructure and where they want to go with it, but we can do all of it, some of it, part of it, and it's one where every hospital that we've worked with has their own unique situation that we've been able to solve, and also sometimes use some existing infrastructure. Most times it's all new infrastructure going in from the start. But we have done combinations.
Yeah. That's a good point. When we've come in and looked at systems, I was talking about having a bespoke solution. There's been areas where they had existing either Wi-Fi, public safety, DAS systems. We were able to acquire those systems and upgrade them, and or acquire them and vastly improve or use part of their backbone or what have you. It just drives our costs down, but it's there. Something I noted earlier, we keep using the word capital. I mean, we provide a service, right? If you're a healthcare provider on this line right now, you have a cheaper cost of capital than me and my company, right? You can borrow money a lot less than we can. But what we talk about, though, is a proper use of capital in one case, meaning should the hospital take its capital and put it towards MRI systems where they get a better rate of return? The other thing that we're talking about that really came to light, and this is a case study they're within the top 5 largest healthcare providers in the U.S. right now. They basically went to their portfolio of hospitals and healthcare providers and asked them if they'd rather have better machinery, either X-ray machines or MRI systems, or better connectivity. The responses came back overwhelmingly that they wanted to have better connectivity. This is from doctors and nurses. Then they went in a little deeper and started finding out that not only could they, as we talked about earlier, use their capital and put it towards something that's going to get them a rate of return, the proper use of capital, but this blew us away. And again, I'll share this with the group. This is their information, by the way. They found that they were going to optimize their healthcare workforce and be able to bill more just by having better connectivity at their location because of the movement of their doctors and nurses within it. And effectively, if you look at the green box, so really we'll summarize this up, but effectively they found that they were going to have a doctor pick up half of a visit per day, an additional half of a visit per day, if you will. And then they took that number and they ran that across their portfolio. And they said, okay, if we have an extra half of a visit per day times the average cost of the visit, $279.82, times the average doctor's working day in their facilities was 223 work days, times the average of 134 physicians per hospital, they quickly determined this large national healthcare portfolio. They said, wait a minute, we're not only just talking about proper use of funds and having this service for us, which we want to turn into managed service, but now we're talking about optimizing our workforce and being able to take something that was a cost center, a capital cost center, put it into an operating cost center, and now we're talking about turning it into a positive operational perspective and a positive cash flow. I'll share this with everybody. We can give you our formula. This is from this healthcare provider, and you can run your own. Here's how many doctors we have. Here's our average square footage. Here's how many hospitals we have. This was a great example of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we're in our contracts. We're exceeding contracts with this national provider right now across multiple portfolios of their hospitals across different parts of the country. So it's exciting. Eric, you just want to quickly talk about 5G. I know everybody on the phone hears 5G nonstop. What does that mean for the healthcare people?
Yeah.
And then let's talk about CBRS, because I know that's another big word for everybody out there.
Absolutely. I think I saw a Verizon commercial this morning where they said, we're nationwide 5G now. And I'm going, really? I don't have 5G on my property out here in the sticks of North Carolina. So it'd be interesting to see how this all plays out. But, the 5G impact on the healthcare industry is absolutely going to be transformative. The next generation connectivity, certainly going to enhance the patient experience as well as the analytics. And if you have, you on the call today, if you've seen anything or read anything in the healthcare industry that you're wrestling with, is the amount of data that you're getting, in the healthcare space. 5G will definitely, help in the aggregation of that data. It'll also empower patients, and 5G will usher in an era of that personalized, self-directed healthcare, which I think COVID has definitely pushed this towards. I think the real-time remote patient monitoring has absolutely exploded from the COVID standpoint. With the ways of reducing, people using the ER as a primary care, and it'll really allow the doctors to monitor local patients while attending to individuals across the globe without having to leave the office. And you've seen some of the governmental agencies get rid of some of the regulations as far as it from crossing state lines and doctors licensing and so forth. We're still waiting to see if that's going to take a hold. But not only that, from it will help with improved diagnoses, lower latency, which means the speed, and also gain more people accessible healthcare. It's not going to solve all the challenges that healthcare faces, but the integration of this with IoT and patient demand really cannot be underestimated. I think the biggest thing I've seen in the last couple of weeks is I've met with a couple of C-suite leaders in the IT space for a number of large hospital systems, and they're talking about putting IoT over Wi-Fi, and I just can't see that being a great decision. I see it where you take, private LTE or CBRS, as we call the on-go network, is a perfect example for how we would utilize this. And CBRS, for all that you don't know, is really, it's a private LTE network that the government has given us 150 megahertz worth of spectrum at a location, and it really can reduce that whole spectrum bandwidth congestion and provide seamless, secure on-site premise, way better than Wi-Fi. And it has a whole host of, it really has dedicated channels that you can give to both surgeons, staff, doctors, what have you, as well as the private sector coming into your facility. It's really economically and technically feasible for the first time with CBRS, and it really is that has that the ability to keep personal information, patient information safely stored on the hospital's network, and it's fast. And just to give you an idea, 150 megahertz in a building, in let's just say a hospital structure, that's sometimes what a carrier has in the entire city from a spectrum perspective. So there's plenty of bandwidth. There's a variety of different licensures, but just to keep it simple, we can set up a private network that's way more secure than Wi-Fi, give you speed and the accuracy that you're looking for. And the 3.5 chipsets that are in the phone started with Apple 11, so anything past future is going to be in there as well, plus all of the Galaxy Notes have that. And there's probably about a 30% penetration, 40% penetration in the smartphones to date. So you typically have a 1 to 2 year rollover as technology comes out. So I'd say within 2 to 2.5 years, all these phones will have it. And it's really as a matter of switching off from the carrier network on the outside. Once you enter the building and they have a CBRS, it automatically does a switch over onto your phone with no signing in and what have you. So it's I think the architecture for CBRS network in the hospital setting is going to be absolutely ground changing. It's still real early. Things just kind of took off in February. The alliance has been around for a number of years, and all the back end is being set up. But from a healthcare perspective, and I think the CBRS enabled infrastructure will provide numerous benefits to the healthcare enterprise, and I'm looking forward to doing a number of these in the very near future.
And just to point out one part of this, it's all part of our offering, no additional cost, right? So you can use it when you're ready to use it, but it's all part of our managed service offering. Just a quick sidebar: we have a $4.6 billion development going on in Las Vegas, and their CTO and CIO went to a conference, came back, called us up. This is after signing our contracts and selling it to his parent company, everything else, and said, we just saw this whole cool thing about CBRS, how we want to use it for our robots, how we want to use it for some of our infrastructure as far as their machines are concerned, beyond robots. Can you give us a change order? We want to change your contract to include CBRS. And I pointed out to him, I said, Terry, this already includes, it's already part of it, and so you need a reference. It's one of our better ones. By the way, so something that some of you aren't focused on, but we are, is public safety. It's mission critical infrastructure. It's part of all your hospitals. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen the AT&T FirstNet that's coming out. It's part of our systems as well. I'll get into our upgrade cycles here in a minute. But we If there's an existing public safety system, we acquire it and upgrade it. We are big believers in bundling DAS and public safety at the very least, and putting those together and making sure that they're compliant across that. Every single one of our projects across the country, we have public safety involved as well. I want to talk about our technology upgrade roadmap. And then in a second, I'm going to show you a couple business cases about really what's offered in the market today, and then what other healthcare providers, specific ones, like you on the phone, have done with us, and why they did it the way they did it. And then, of course, you can feel free to reach out to those folks. But we at SVP, when we launched it, we wanted to be cognizant of the fact of, remember, like installing a dynamic solution in a dynamic environment. And what that really meant was these systems are going to be monitored and maintained 24/7, 365, and not just on a break-fix type of concept. The technologies are going to evolve outside of your walls. And so how can you make that seamless evolution inside? And that's part of our offering. The part of our managed service is the fact that we upgrade these systems multiple times. Now we use, if you look at the slide, we talk about it in upgrade cycles. If you look at the first quote-unquote upgrade cycle, it's the FirstNet I mentioned before, Fire Police EMS with AT&T's system. It's CBRS OnGo, and it's 5G. Now those are multiple different technologies, but we would upgrade a system to those technologies within the first cycle, meaning we plan that out with you, no additional cost, of course. You guys would tell us this timing works, work at night, go to these places first, but we kind of lay it all out. And of course, your cost doesn't change. We have a fixed cost over the term of our agreement. On average, our costs are around 2 to 3 cents per square foot per year. So do that. We've had CIOs at healthcare facilities look at us saying, what? You mean literally 2 to 3 cents per square foot per year, and that's locked in? I just locked in my future technology costs going all the way out over your term, and that includes all the upgrades. There's no additional capital expenditures. There's no change orders during construction. That's a common operational flaw of those in this market that build these assets for you healthcare providers. They put a price out there, and then they change order you to death, and or they change order you to their greater profitability on their side, and we don't believe in that at SVP. When you sign a contract with us, we show you what the cost is. We show you everything behind the curtain of what all of our costs are going to be. All you're worried about is that monthly cost, that monthly utility cost once, and by the way, that's not until the system's operational. So some of you out there are thinking, this sounds cool, but my budget isn't available until July of next year, or maybe the following January or the following July after that. Don't worry about it. We have contracts like that with healthcare providers right now. We're building systems out now that we're not getting paid on until January 2022. Our average build cycle is around 6 months. Some is 6 to 8 to a year, depending upon how big the hospital is and how the hospital wants us to work in and around their infrastructure. So we don't, if it's obviously operating, but we don't want to disrupt their operations. They don't pay us until the systems are live and operational. So there's a massive deferment too of any sort of cost that's not out until the future. But circling back to the technology upgrade roadmap, and then we think about the next cycle of being 600 megahertz and 6G, which will come, and then 24 gigahertz and 7G, which will come. We think about this in upgrade cycles. And trust me, as sure as we are all on the phone right now, in our homes and offices, wherever we all are, there are and there will be a technology that will come out over the next 10 years that we're not aware of, that you're not aware of. And we're going to be contractually obligated to upgrade your systems to that technology so you can use it at no additional cost. And CBRS is a perfect example of that. Nobody talked about CBRS 7 to 5 years ago. No one was really talking about it. It's part of our offering. And there'll be something that will come that will be part of our offering that we haven't identified yet, that you haven't identified yet. And if we get there with you guys, you'd see our contract and see that's how we operate. Just quickly, this talks about, when we talk about making the decision about how you think about, this infrastructure and what your alternatives are, we did a quick venue owner or healthcare owner's perspective of how they think about it. And I'm sorry, the boxes are not checked properly here because it's not PDF, and you'll see it. Maybe you can see it. But effectively, there's either our way of doing it, there's your way of owning it, and/or there's the neutral host model, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. In our model, it's not dependent upon the wireless carriers. There is no CapEx, which allows you to use your capital expenditures for something else. It's a long-term solution. We're building it today. We're building it for the future with no additional cost. It's a managed service. We've had people say to us, wait a minute, so if something breaks, you don't have to ship it to us and then we go fix it and I have my IT staff fix it? I said, no, it's all part of it. It's all part of the cost. Everything's part of that 2 to 3 cents per square foot per month. If we are able to drive revenues to you, which we can and do in almost every case across the country, we get the wireless carriers to participate. We get other third parties to participate. We drive back through 90% of those revenues to the hospital. And again, I said 24/367 monitoring maintenance, and everything's included into this oversight. I always tell folks that, think about us as like a great team, but you guys are the owners of the team, and we listen to you. We come up with a game plan. We're going to execute the game plan, but the reality is, we answer to you and you tell us what and how to do it. And that brings me to the next slide. Here's some case studies of some Midwest groups. We did this with an integrator partner of ours based in the Midwest. They build these systems. They do monitoring and maintenance themselves. They were looking for a managed services offering for their partners, and they brought us to the table, and we closed these, and these have been expanding within them. The first is Rush. Rush in Chicago and partnered with Midwest Orthopedics. We built out a brand new facility they had. And by the way, if you go to this facility, it's in Oak Brook, Illinois. I mean, you basically are staring at a cell tower, and you're staring at a bunch of rooftop sites. Because the facility is new, it's got the low LED glass, it doesn't get any signal penetration. And so we rebuilt the system out. We built the new system out while they were under construction in Chicago, and of course cover the parking garages. And they're an excellent reference for us if you guys ever want to speak with anybody there. Secondly, was Parkview. Parkview is one of the larger northern Indiana healthcare providers. In Fort Wayne, they have a big building there, and then a bunch of other little ones. We built out their main medical center, their South Tower expansion, and another one of their hospitals, and we're looking to do more with them. But it made sense. With the latter, we actually have a 4-hour response time to be on site. So let me say that again. If something breaks in this system at any time of the day, on any holiday, no matter what it is, we have a contract with Parkview that we have to be on site within 4 hours to fix the system. And we do that. This is just some of our case studies. We have tons we could share with you on the phone if you're interested, and we'd love to. So we'll certainly give out our contact information here at the end. And we can answer any questions you may have. But
hey, Justin.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin, it's Eric. Before you go on, go back to that slide. Just one of the things I want to reiterate about some of the newer systems that we're utilizing from a healthcare perspective is, if you've got a new project where it's basically greenfield, we also, as we design and build with you, we see a significant cost savings in that. It doesn't mean we can't go into a 100-year-old hospital and make it right, do it all the time. But when we're doing greenfield, there's an additional significant amount of savings that we can bring you as we build along with you, as we've done in a couple of these instances. So and if you're marrying, new construction with old, we can do that too. We've done it in a number of instances. So it doesn't have to be greenfield. We do renovations, existing structures, and what have you. So I just wanted to add that point.
No, that's a great point. And with Parkview, for example, we acquired their existing system at the main medical building. And with one of their satellite hospitals, it went from a new building to something that was 60, 70 years old. And so even from their floor plan to site plan perspective, there was a lot of changing from what we originally saw to what we ended up actually building and doing. And to Eric's point, we can work in any environment. And look, we also worked through COVID. Our business actually doubled during COVID, and we continue to build through this pandemic in healthcare, which, as you can imagine, was very challenging. In some instances, we had to move our guys from certain floors in and around. We also had to do some stop work just here or there if there were overflowing parts of the emergency rooms. But all those are back up and operational and moving and in the right direction. Like I said, you can give references, referrals, whatever everybody needs to talk about this further. In concluding, we talk about the fact, before we go into our Q&A, that this modern connectivity is just a mission-critical pillar of healthcare delivery. We at SVP are what we like to say, like the one throat to choke, a one-stop shop. Effectively, we're equipped to design, deploy, and manage these bespoke wireless systems. And whether it's DAS, CBRS, we do Wi-Fi, fiber, public safety, and IPTV, or one or some combination of all those. We do that for your facility. We partner with you so you can go work on your core business. And look, we have a long-term contract. We've won all of our business, and I'm sure some of them are on the phone, and knocked off massive publicly traded companies at their legacy clients' places because of our transparency and because of our offering. Something that they're very hesitant to show and participate. We're not. We say, here's how we do it. We want you to know everything so you're comfortable. And it's won us a lot of business and a lot of loyalty and expansion within our existing partners. We provide an overall technology solution, including the capital investment and the upgrades. It's future-proofed, as we talked about. It's world-class connectivity and system installation, and really at no delay. I talked about the fact that, depending on Eric noted, we know a lot of healthcare is hurting right now due to the pandemic. We can work with you on that. We deal with all the wireless carriers, of course, all the OEMs who are fantastic. I know some, and by the way, we have projects with every single OEM, and then a lot of different integrators. A lot of our hospital partners have approved vendors, whether they're low voltage and or communication integrator guys, that they want us to utilize, and that's not a problem. We use who they're comfortable with, and then our guys, our construction managers, project managers are there and work with them as well. And then finally, we can drive revenues to you. We talked about before about making this a CapEx to OpEx. We know that we're making groups much more operationally efficient by doing this. But then the other piece is, if we're able to drive revenues to you from the wireless carriers and the like, which we have programs with them right now, we pass through 90% of that back to the healthcare partner and provider. And that concludes our presentation, our thoughts on this communication infrastructure for the pandemic. And I know we have a few more minutes here. Bridget, are there any questions that have come up in the chat room that you want us to address?
Yeah, absolutely. I can jump in here, and we do have a few questions already, but I want to remind the audience that before we get to those, you can still send in your questions now through the Ask Question panel on your screen, and we'll get to as many as we can. So first question here, I will give this one to Justin. Why is the traditional way of building and funding wireless infrastructure no longer effective?
Yeah, thank you. So everybody on the phone, if you have a healthcare venue, I'm sure have been approached by either one of the wireless carriers and or what we call 3POs or wireless development groups, third-party operators wireless development groups, where they said to you, sign this piece of paper, give me exclusivity to market your property, and I'm going to go get the capital necessary to build this out for you. And when I do that, I'm going to keep 60 or 70% of the rent, 65, 75% of the rent. Something like that's happened to folks on this phone. And what happens is it never happens. Right? The business case, and especially now and go forward, is not really there for the wireless carriers. If you think about a Verizon, for example, they look at the world and they say, well, here is Grand Central Station. X amount of millions of people walk through here every day. I need to be here, and I'm willing to pay a king's ransom to be here. If you have a hospital in Kansas that sees, I don't know, a couple million people a year, they're not interested. They're just not. And we have some of the largest healthcare providers in the U.S. as partners now. And I would think, I'm talking about hundreds of hospitals, and then forget about their medical office buildings and et cetera down the trough. You would think that they would be able to, those properties would be marketed properly for capital, and it just hasn't happened. And so when we came out, we changed the dynamic of we don't answer to the wireless carriers. We want to partner with them, but we answer to our healthcare partners, and those are the ones who really, we're providing the control for this infrastructure. And then if there's a way to monetize it, we provide that back to them. But we're also talking about upgrading the systems. We talked about how the market's changed so dramatically. I'll give you another example. There's a commercial property. It's in retail. It was $1 billion property on the West Coast being built. They had one of these providers for them, and they had an old system, and the technology had moved on. Well, they called this person, this company, if you will, and they said, "Hey, we just put $1 billion into a property out here, and we can't connect from one location to the next. Come out here and fix it." And the response was, "We don't care that you put $1 billion into it. We don't answer to you. We answer to the wireless carriers. We're not going to come do it until they pay us to come do it, and pay us our cost plus somewhere in the area of 20 to 40% profit on top of that." And so those type of stories and real examples are why we're in business, because we went to those folks and said, no, we answer to you. And as the technology change, your systems will already be upgraded and changed before that ever happens, giving you the state-of-the-art facilities before that ever happens. So we're big believers in the way to take care of, to develop, to own, to properly service. This type of critical infrastructure is through a managed service, and we think it's through the way that we have created in this market. Thanks, Bridget.
Awesome. Thank you. Very thorough. Thanks. Next question in here. In order to make this work, do you have to get funding from the carriers?
Yeah. Thanks. And I saw that. I think it was I saw in the chat room, so thank you, Eric. The answer is no. We have built just go back to those two case studies, Parkview and Rush. Those systems are built without any capital from the carriers. We did get the carriers to donate signal source, so they put forward hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment at no cost, but we do not need to have the carriers put money up in order to move forward.
All right, perfect. This next question I'll hand to you, Eric. When do I need to update my infrastructure? When do I need? And what is involved in that process?
Well, the quick answer is yesterday. And the issue that we're finding out there is, depending on what the age and stage of your structure and or your information systems out there, even things such as 2, 5, 10 years ago, there's a definite need to look at it, upgrade it, potentially use parts of it. It's as easy as making a phone call to us, and we'll come out, do a quick site visit, take a peek at it, and then get some plans from you and do a quick budgetary quote based on what you're looking to install or put into your structure, whether it be carrier service, private LTE, Wi-Fi, public safety systems, what have you. It's as simple as a phone call and just setting up a meeting and a site walk.
All right, awesome. Do you experience specific preferences from hospital CIOs regarding Wi-Fi, LTE, or CBRS?
It's a good question. I see that here.
Ahead.
I see that here, Annika. I'm not sure if Annika, if you're with Ericsson, which is a wonderful company. Her name is Annika Ericsson. The answer is yes. We at SVP are indifferent. Honestly, we have solid systems and DAS. We have CommScope. We have JMA. We have everything. We we don't push any technology. We come to our partner and say, we think these 1 or 2 or 3 make the most sense for you. We price those out, and then we let our healthcare partner decide, or any partner for that matter, decide whether they're healthcare or hospitality or not. When we think about technology, if you think about us and us developing these systems across the country, I personally like the fact that we have different technologies at different locations. Really, it mitigates my risk from having one technology that may have some sort of flaw at all my locations, right? So, for example, if there's an issue with a solid system and I have it at 30 out of 100 locations, that's okay. I can go fix those 30 locations. I wouldn't want that issue at 100 of 100 locations, if that makes sense. But we usually follow the lead of our venue because in some cases they have portfolios, in some cases they have experience. And it's like we have Solid in our Texas portfolio. We really like them. Or we have CommScope, in our Minnesota portfolio. We really like that. Okay, fine. The other part of that too is depending upon who the healthcare approved vendors are, they may be specifically certified in some technologies. I'm thinking of a few off the top of my head that are Corning, type of installation folks and or CommScope, and they lean that way. And so, that could be another driving point for them as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you. A couple more questions here before we wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, how has the pandemic impacted the value of telehealth in healthcare, and how can SVP services fit into that puzzle?
Yeah, as Eric talked about earlier, there's just going to be a massive business in telehealth for the folks on the phone, just is. And the fact that we have a dynamic solution for these dynamic environments, and we offer it in a managed service with all the upgrades, it just makes all the sense in the world to go with us as a utility and put the onus on us to deliver that to you. And by the way, if we don't do what we say we're going to do, our contracts state that you can default us and take our systems. Nobody has that in their contracts. We purposely have that, so there's no gotcha clauses. And that's gotten some of the largest healthcare providers, international corporations that own real estate, hospitality, extremely comfortable with who we are and what we do. I saw another question, Bridget, on here. I think it was a question regarding broadband. Did you see that one? I think Deborah asked the question. Is this a viable solution for rural healthcare delivery where broadband is available? And the answer is yes. We can pipe it to you either wirelessly, by satellite, what have you. And we have a lot of rural locations right now. So to answer your question is yes. And I think there's another question about FirstNet somewhere in here. Did you see that?
I'm not sure. I'm only seeing.
Yeah.
I'm only seeing one more question in here. Yeah, is that okay if I just jump to the last question?
Please.
All right, awesome. So this is, either one can jump out. I'll hand this to Eric first, but what lessons will the healthcare industry, specifically as technology administrators, take from this COVID crisis that will help prepare them for the future, and how can SVP help in this regard?
A great question, and we've seen it most recently as the engagement timing of the CIOs that we've been reaching out to and working with over the past couple of months. The engagement factor has gone up tenfold. I think one of the things that they've realized is that their aging infrastructure is in dire need of refresh and a look-see. It's time to look under the hood and see, the pandemic has just kind of exacerbated the issues and put them all on the plate. And the benefit of, what SVP can deliver is a multitude of technologies, as well as having that no capital up front, and it's a pure OpEx play really benefits their financial solution and situation just based on, no surgeries going on for 6 months and not putting in, a fair bit of revenue onto their line. So our solution, whatever technology they're looking for, and our financial model really benefits them, and we're seeing the fruits of that starting to blossom in the recent months.
Perfect. All right. Very cool.
I see another question on here that just popped up. Do you see this one, Bridget? Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
His name. From Ramesh. Do you see that?
Yeah. You want to take that?
Sure. The question is, I just lost it. Says, where'd that go? There you go. It says, as 5G is still at the beginning phase of the life cycle, especially with sub-6 or millimeter wave spectrum, would it be safe to deploy gigabit-based private LTE with a pathway to 5G? I think the answer is yes. Correct, Eric?
Absolutely. Doing it today. Yep.
Right. So yes, it would be, and as it evolves, beyond 5G, the systems will be upgraded to work with that new portion.
Yeah, and I think the benefit of our technology upgrade lifecycle path is that, we've got it kind of predetermined and we can figure a cost basis around that. But if it does change from a technology standpoint, the good news is that the venue owner is covered contractually for us to maneuver around whatever is the next wave. Just because we've determined it as 6G or 7G, but let's say there's a 6.5 that's going to take over before 7 even comes to fruition, we would then deploy that as one of the upgrade cycles. So either way, the venue is covered.
All right, awesome. Well, I think that is all the questions that we have, but those are some great questions. Thank you, everybody who submitted one. We will wrap up now, but just a couple of reminders before we go. This event will be available on the HIMSS Learning Center for 1 year, so come back and watch it and share with your friends. And I would also like to invite our audience to complete the survey that will pop up on your screen at the end of today's event and share your thoughts with us. We would really appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.